So today we're going to go through eMIMSelite platform. Hopefully you guys will be familiar with MIMS and what we provide. You may have used our older digital products, eMIMS Cloud or MIMS Online in the past. eMIMSelite is the latest iteration that we have of these products. And it's really just a way for healthcare professionals in Australia to access information around drugs and medicines in a timely manner. So today I'm going to sort of take you through eMIMSelite, kind of focusing a bit more on the newer features that we have here that perhaps were not so easily available in the previous digital platforms, but also just some kind of basic background information on what it is that we provide. I apologize if that's kind of old hat for you all, but I think it's good to be kind of comprehensive in what we look at. So starting off with the landing page here for eMIMSelite, first thing I'm going to show you is the drug updates section because it's one of my favorite things that we've added to this new platform. You'll see on here product information updates. So we have an editorial team here at MIMS who work very hard keeping all of our information up to date. And you can see here for November data, they made 192 updates. So if you click on this, it will give you a kind of rough overview of which parts of the monographs were updated. If we're being realistic, we don't really think anyone's going to read through all of these. So the team have gone through and really picked out the most important information. So new drugs, and when we talk about new drugs in this section, we're really talking about new therapeutic entities. We're not talking about new brands of existing drugs. We're really going for things which are interesting, if you'll forgive me for being quite so simple. So new drugs here, and then a kind of brief summary of that drug. Also, we look at new indications. So this is existing drugs in the market where the scope of use is perhaps being broadened. Often it's to do with age ranges, sort of renal information, that kind of thing. Similarly, new contraindications. So if something is now specifically contraindicated in the product information, we'll highlight that here. And then safety related changes, similarly, just a short summary. But this kind of summary here can just be kind of useful for people to look at each month if they want to know what the big ticket items have changed are. You can see here we've got November 24 in the click box here. You can look at any month in the last 12 months and go through what those changes have been. So quite nice, quite useful, good way of kind of understanding what these updates are including. So the next part I'm going to look at is the search functionality. So searching is a funny thing. There's lots of different ways to find the information that you want, and everybody will go about it differently. So I would encourage you to play around with the site and find what really works for you. But to give you a bit of background, I'm actually first of all going to show you probably the least useful search functionality, which is the browse. So we understand that browse is not something that gets used a lot. It's just essentially a list of everything. But it'll give you a bit of context and background in what I'm about to speak about in terms of what it is that we're searching for. So you can see we've got brands here. This is all the brand names listed alphabetically, just in a simple list. Active ingredients, similarly, a simple list of all the active ingredients, and you can just go letter by letter. And that's everything that we have within the data. Therapeutic classes. So if you ever used MIMS book, these were equivalent to the chapters, but these are the classes of drugs where they're categorized, and then they will come through like that. So that's a MIMS sort of term that you can use there. We also have indications. So this is kind of usage and indications. And the browser is actually quite useful for this because it kind of gives an idea of what those indications might be and searching around and what they look like, what you can find things. And then company, which is a simple list of all the pharma companies that are listing drugs in MIMS at the moment, or whose drugs are listed in MIMS. So when I go back to the landing page and search, I'll click on this search box here. When I start to search, it's those 5 things that are being searched for. So I'll start with something super easy and search for a brand name. So if I search for Prozac, you can see here on the drop down, there's quick shortcuts. I can jump to the brand, I can jump to the CMI. So if I jump to the brand, it's going to take me to the abbreviated monograph, but then all the other information is linked across here. I'll go through these in a little bit. Going back to the search, if I wanted to search by active ingredient, I might search for aspirin. You can see here there's like color coded. It's telling you what it is that you're searching. So if you weren't looking for aspirin as an active ingredient, but as a brand name, then you would see that you wanted a blue box there. But here we do want aspirin, so I'm going to click on that one. When I click on the active ingredient, because it's not specified a brand, it's just going to give me the options of all the brands that are available. So you can see here in the results list, there's a table here. It's got similar structure to what we had in our previous products, so eMIMS Online and eMIMS Cloud, because that was something that we had feedback was very useful. So it's got this super quick reference around the use and the dose. And sometimes we find that our users, that's all they need. They're just doing a quick sanity check, making sure that's what they wanted. If for whatever reason you actually didn't want to see that and you just wanted to see a nice straightforward list, you can always toggle this show results as a table, and you can get that as well. While we're on here, I'll just show you these filters down the side here, which can be quite useful. So you can see we've got 24 results here. We might want to reduce those results. The fields that you can filter on are fairly straightforward and self-explanatory. But if I was to look at a simple one which might be useful, it would be only show me things which are listed on the PBS. So only PBS funded items coming through. Then we get down to 13 products. So a few less. Also, product like aspirin is quite a good example for this. Something like paracetamol, even more so. If I was to search paracetamol, we'd come back with over 100 results, and many of them would be multiple ingredients. So there's a single ingredient here, and you can specify a simple yes or no. So if I say yes, I'm only going to get aspirin by itself. If I say no, then I'll only get combination products. So you see aspirin plus codeine, aspirin plus clopidogrel. So that can be a useful way of kind of filtering down your results and also just exploring them as well. I'm going to go back to the landing page just because this is a sort of good starting point, and just quickly show you the therapeutic class. So if I look for a therapeutic class, you can see here more colors. Our orange ones are our therapeutic classes, our pink ones are our indications. So for this example, we'll click on the therapeutic class, and that's going to bring back all of the drugs which are included in the antiemetics therapeutic class in MIMS. So you'll see a few different active ingredients in there. Again, this filter section is really nice. It will only give you an option to filter on something which is a part of the results that you've already searched. So if I click on the active ingredient, it's only going to list active ingredients included in the products within these 62 results. So you're not going to get back all the 1,000 of active ingredients that could be available. You're just going to be able to narrow down to what you really want to look at. So you could just pick one and go straight for that one. If you wanted to look for the indications, so we can perhaps be a little bit more specific when we search for indications. So if I go antiemetic again and just choose one of these specific types, so serotonin antagonists, and that takes me down to the 33 that are linked to that indication within our data. So that's the sort of searches that we can do. To show you the company one, that's probably a little bit less often used, but it may be for some people. So you'll see company comes here as an option. If I look for Eli Lilly, if you search for that, you will get the contact details of the pharma company and also all of the products that they list within the data. If the contact details are potentially interesting to you and something which you're happy to be able to find, it's just also, I'll point out when I'm here, if I'd come to this from the monograph itself, you'll see that the pharma company is always a hyperlink. And if you click on that pharma company, you will get the same results. So you can always easily get those details if you need to. The next thing to show you is the advanced search. So I'm going to show you it first from here. You would have noticed, hopefully, in the last few searches I did that this screen kind of came up. So you can access it from a search result, or you can access it directly from that landing page, depending on what you need to. If you're searching for these kind of main 5 parameters like brand name, active ingredient, etc., of course you're just going to use the regular search. But what this can also do for you is search within the monographs themselves. So if you've got a more detailed, more specific, more niche thing that you want to look for, you can search within that. So if you tick abbreviated PI here and put some text in here, it will search for that text within an abbreviated PI. So or refrigerated. So if I search this one, within what I'm doing here is I'm searching for the term refrigerate within the abbreviated PI, and it's bringing me back a whole list of PIs which have that term in them. And then you can see here search within the abbreviated PI sections, you could actually specify which section. Fairly obviously, these are kind of within the dose and the composition fields that are there. It's possibly more useful, if I'm honest, when we're looking at the full PI. So I'll show you this one. If I choose heartburn, now just a tip here, I've tapped heartburn, it will give me these suggestions. We have to ignore the temptation of clicking on any of the suggestions that come through there, because that will just go back to our much more simple quick search. If we want to do the deep dive, you do have to hit enter or click on search. So searching for heartburn within full PI, quite a few results coming back. And then you can see here search within the full PI sections, and that will really change the results in terms of what you might look for. So if I look for adverse effects of heartburn, I'm going to get back 127 results. And obviously without reading it itself, you can't be sure exactly what it's saying there, but it's giving you a starting point to research a bit more. So this is finding all of the full PIs, which has the term heartburn within the adverse effects section. Equally, I might be more interested in PIs that have it in the therapeutic indications section. So I can click on that. Similarly, I'm going to get a different set of PIs here, because obviously these are kind of focusing on a different use case. So again, the filters here, similarly, you can still use these ones, and you can still, filter by PBS, etc., if you want to cut those down. But that's the advanced search in a nutshell. I just encourage you to play around with it, see how you can make it work for you. All right. I'm going to just have a quick look at the monographs themselves. Choose software, because we were talking about antiemetics. So I'll start with the full PI. You may or may not be familiar with what I mean by the term full PI and abbreviated PI, so I'll kind of just give you a quick summary now. The full PI is the document that comes through from the pharmaceutical company, and it's what they submit to the TGA as a safety document with all of the information that they have about the drug. So that will go to, the initial stages of a drug's release. It will have a lot about the research, the pharmacology behind the drug, and then it will go into more details around the results of clinical trials, and then the uses which it's licensed and approved for in Australia, and any contraindications, precautions, etc. It can be quite a lengthy document. It's very comprehensive, and it's got a lot of information in there. You can see in eMIMS here, we've got this nice quick navigation menu on the side. So if you were really just interested in the dosage, you can just click straight onto the dosage, and then you'll go straight to that information, or you can read through it depending on what your needs are at any particular time. You can also see down the bottom here, sort of top, which will take me straight back to the top whenever I want to. And I'll click over to the abbreviated PI. So the abbreviated PI is something that we provide in-house. So we've got a team here who essentially, they go through, they update the full PIs when the updates come through. And as part of that update process, they both write and review the abbreviated PIs. So the abbreviated PI essentially is those guys pulling out all of the essential information from the full PI to make it a really quick resource, very quick to read, and very quick to sort of understand without having to plow through potentially 25 pages. So both PIs have a use case, and there's a time and a place for both of them, and they're both used usually sort of different scenarios depending on what you need at any one time. So in part of the abbreviated monograph here on eMIMS, just to take you through some of the information that's here, you can see we've got the pill images. So for this particular one, so if you wanted to click on those, you get a bit of information. So for example, the pill size, that can be quite helpful. If you've got a patient who doesn't like particularly big tablets, you can reassure them, or you can think again about what those sizes might be. We've got the pregnancy information there. I'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. And sports information. The monograph itself, again, we've got a nice quick navigation panel on the side here. The updates to the eMIMSelite platform, one of the main changes that we've made is just a much more modern look and feel, and part of that is a more readable kind of font size and easier to navigate around the monographs themselves. You'll see here the PBS information that we link. So we integrate with the PBS and update that each month. So the PBS data here is up to date. It's a little bit different to how we showed it previously, a bit more kind of clear and transparent. So the PBS code itself is here, the maximum quantities, etc., the PBS type. And if you click on the restriction box there, it will give you the restriction text. Sometimes that can be quite comprehensive and quite long. So it comes through as a separate pop-up rather than trying to squeeze it all into that little box there. We also include the Streamline Authority codes so that people can see those easily if they need them to fill in scripts. So that's the abbreviated PI. The CMI is the consumer medicine information. Similar to the full PI, this comes through from the pharma company via the TGA. This is the approved consumer medicines information. You can see for this product here that there's actually more than one CMI available. So depending on the preparation itself, there's one for the syrup. If you click over here, you'll see there's a different one for tablets and a different one for the wafers. We present it on the screen here so you can scroll through it. But if this is something that you wanted to provide to a patient, you see up here, there's the ability to email or produce a PDF, which you can then print. You can also bookmark here as well. This one is already bookmarked. And I'll just show you here on the side. This will show me my bookmarks here. So it's off ramp. I'm just going to move on to the crush information. So I think Ellie said that for this group, some of you will have access to crush, but not all of you may. Apologies to those of you who don't have access to it, but we will just go through what it provides and how you can find the information within it. So the Don't Rush to Crush, it comes through from the SHPA, which is the Society Hospital Pharmacists Australia. The reason I hesitated then is because they've actually rebranded. As a bit of an FYI, you'll see this SHPA logo here, but a few weeks ago they have rebranded themselves as Advanced Pharmacy Australia. So over the coming months, you might see those start to change and some of the terminology start to change. It is just a branding exercise. It's just a branding change. So don't be concerned that the content itself is going to be any different or have any kind of different procedures around it. So you'll see on the left-hand side here, ondansetron, this is the active ingredient of the product that we're looking at, which was Zofran. And so there's information, it's around the safe administration of medicines to people who have either enteral feeding tubes or perhaps they have difficulty swallowing. And I guess from the name, quite nice and simple, should you crush a medication? Obviously, some are not safe to be crushed and it can change their modes of actions, or they could be toxic to the person crushing it. So all of that information is contained within these monographs here. So these are kind of drug specific. You've got a quick guide. You've got a bit more detail about, if you can crush it, how you can crush it, what you can mix it with, that type of thing. And then down the side here, you'll see some general information. So this is more of the background information provided by the SHPA around crushing medications, and it has some quite nice useful things like, say, comparative tables here. So it will give you, within the same class of drugs, different drugs and how they might be suitable for people with swallowing difficulties. You'll always see the one that you came from at the top here, so you can always just click back onto that to get back to the monograph where we started. So clicking over again, I'm going to go to drug interactions. So when you click over like this from a product, so you can see at the top here, we still know which product we're looking at. We're still looking at Zofran. We're going to get bored of Zofran soon. And the active ingredient down the bottom there. So when we click open from here, the drug interactions are going to show you everything. So this is everything that we know interacts with Zofran, can come through. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to go back to the landing page and actually just go into the interaction checker directly. So in this case, you might not want to see everything. You might want to search for a specific combination. So if you put in a drug, we'll do a different one now. So Lipitor, if you just have the one drug and then click on check interaction, similar to what we just saw, you're going to see everything that's there. So, can be quite useful for research, looking through the types of interactions that we have in the database there. But if you actually wanted to check more of a specific combination, then we can put those in. So within the interaction checker, you can put, I just put a brand name in there, which was Lipitor, but you can just put in an active ingredient as well. So if I put here ritonavir, you can see that's coming through as ingredient. And then maybe we'll add a bit of a cough and cold as well. So now I've got this 3 here, and when I click check, it's going to check only between the active ingredients of these 3 products. And you can see we just get the 1 interaction back this time. And similar to what we saw before, whenever you get interactions list, it comes out with this kind of basic table, which will just say there is an interaction here. And to get more information about that, we click on here on the side there, and then we're going to get a bit more information about the interaction itself. So we've got the drug, because I had a brand name there, so we've got the brand name, and then in brackets we've got the active ingredient. So sometimes there might be more than 1 active ingredient within a drug, so it's important that we highlight which active ingredient it is that's causing the interaction that we're alerting. So in this case it's atorvastatin and ritonavir. We've got a severity, so we have severity levels. Obviously this one is severe. Documentation, that kind of means how much evidence is there behind it. We'd love to be able to give a likelihood, which would be, is this interaction going to happen? Yes, no, maybe. The reality is it's not so simple, of course, in medical fields. So all we can really do is say how much evidence there is backing the likelihood of this information, of this interaction happening. So then we've got a bit more simple sort of actions to take, and then the details. So this is kind of like why the interaction is being alerted to you, what the details are, and then everything is fully referenced as well. So those are our drug interactions. You can put in far more examples than that. You could put in 25, 30 drugs in there if you wanted to. Obviously, if you were doing a sort of full check. So I think while we're here, we'll look at the allergies and the health as well. So first of all, the allergies. When you're checking an allergy, obviously you need to record an allergy in the first place. So if you have a patient with a known allergy, we're going to keep it very simple here and go for penicillins. Similar to before, you can record your allergy using a brand name, using an active ingredient, whatever you have available, whatever the information that you have is, you can use. And then I might prescribe a couple of medications. Go for as well. And again, click on check interaction once you've got everything in there that you want to. And we can see for this combination, we're getting a few things. So we're getting a drug interaction between 2 of our entries there. Our 2 antibiotics are having a drug interaction, so we can click on that and have a look at that if we want to. We are also getting a red mark on the allergy. So fairly nice, straightforward one. Our amoxil is alerting because we have a recorded allergy to penicillins there. And you can see there's a little bit less information here. The allergy is a bit more simple. It's more of a sort of yes or no. And it's saying, you know, the prescribed medication has an ingredient in there which is similar to your recorded allergen, and your patient is likely to have an allergic reaction. You can see the health condition check has also come through. So that's a separate functionality again. We're looking there at how drugs might interact with a patient's health condition, like disease status, basically. So I can tick over here. These are all the ones that are coming through from the 3 drugs that we prescribed up here. So all various ones here. You can search just using a term here, or you can use the ICD-10. I don't know how familiar you are with ICD-10, but it's a disease classification from the World Health Organization. And that can be a little bit more comprehensive. So I actually would advise sticking that if you are searching in here, because it will give you some more options. And if I put in here heart failure and then check, I'm going to come back with an interaction against the ibuprofen that we had up here with heart failure. And again, similarly, if I click on this, it will give me a bit more information. So always a severity and a documentation level, a bit of information around, you know, what the alert is and why it's coming through. and then everything is, as always, fully referenced there as well. Let me go back to the landing page now and kind of have a bit more of a look at these tools and resources. As you might have seen through what we've been going through, some of these terms, if I click, for example, on the don't rush to crush, so we've already seen don't rush to crush, but if you wanted that's specifically what you're looking for, you didn't want to have to go in via a product, perhaps you just want to look straight for the active ingredients, then you can go in from here and you can straight away find your monograph here for your active ingredient, something like atenolol. The Iron Gateway we're not looking at today because that is an add-on module and I believe it's not available to this particular group. So interaction checker we've looked at. I will just have a play around with the pill identifier. So when we looked at the monographs, you can see that we have the pill images there. So similarly, this is another place that we store the pill images. And if you're doing something quite simple, like you just want to see what a product looks like, you can do that here simply by searching in that top box, and that will give you your image and your measurements, etc., of that drug. But one of the real functions that we have for this module is for identifying a mystery pill. So someone comes in with a white tablet and you don't know what it is, then you can use this to try and narrow it down, try and find out what it could be. So for example, if I say I've got a round tablet and it's white and it does have scoring on it, and I can see a marking of 200 on there. I could put all that information in here, hit search, and it's going to give me back a bunch of images that I can compare my mystery tablet to and see if I can identify any further. So you can see perhaps if I play around with it a little bit more, if I clear the filters, it will take me back to the start again. And so if we were looking at the colors, for example, I might say it's green and it's white. And you can see it's match all there, so it would be green and white. If I said match any, it would be green or white, but I'll keep it as all. That's all the information I've given it. I haven't told it anything else. And then you can see what comes through there. Now you might look at this picture and wonder, she said green and white, why is a blue and green capsule coming back? That's because the text is white. So it counts the color of the text as one of the colors. Just as an FYI. So if I go back here to my tools and resources, I'll come up here. I'll come back to this SIP in a moment. This inhaler technique is super simple. Essentially, we've just got some links out to the Lung Foundation. If I click on this, it will take me to the Lung Foundation website, and it has a nice demo video of how to use an inhaler. So you can come at it from this page. I think probably the more useful place that you're going to find this and use it is within the monograph itself. So if I search for an product, you can see here we've got a video here. So if we link out to that one, it's going to take me to that same Lung Foundation video that we have. Medicines in pregnancy. It's just a nice kind of way of viewing the pregnancy information that we have available. So you can see here it's fairly intuitive. But if I put in a active ingredient, gluticosone. So I put in an active ingredient and it's going to bring me back a table here, and it's all of the preparations available containing that active ingredient. So as you can see, some of them might be combinations, some of them might be single ingredient. So you've got the active ingredient on the left, the TGA pregnancy code next door to it, all of the brands available here. And if I was to click on that, that would take me straight through to the full PI for that particular brand, the therapeutic class, and then the TGA, they provide a category, a pregnancy category. And for some drugs, not all, there'll be an additional text, so a bit more context, something like this, where it's saying benefits of asthma control outweigh the adverse possibilities. So you can search by active ingredient. Similarly, you can search by brand. But you would get less information, but nice and quick, straight away, just find that pregnancy. I feel like probably a nice useful one is actually doing it by therapeutic classes. So if I went into here, I chose anticonvulsants, it's going to bring me back all of the active ingredients and the brands that are classified as anticonvulsants within MIMS, and then it's going to give me back the TGA pregnancy code for each of them. So you can kind of scan through, you've got a patient who needs an anticonvulsant, who is pregnant, you can kind of scan through and see which the safer options might be, and then, go through and look into that into more detail. So that's the pregnancy module there. The medicines in sport works in a very similar way. As you can see, it's very similarly structured, and you can do the same sort of thing. If I look for Tenolol, you'll see it comes back with the brands available, the therapeutic class, and then the sports category. So this one is a full subject to conditions, so it's a bit more of a complex one. And there's the details. Clicking on the details will give the information that comes direct from the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, that comes through. So this actually specifies which drugs which sports this particular drug is prohibited for use in. That's those ones there. Now I'm going to cheat on the next few rather than take you through them one by one, and just go to a drug which actually has information for them. So as I said, you can find a lot of this information. We've got some on the landing page here, but that's not the only way to access it. We're trying to make it as accessible as possible, trying to bring it forward as much as we can. So this drug here is going to show us a couple of those extra functionalities as well. So first up, we're going to look at the CYP450. So CYP450 is a metabolism pathway for drugs, which is the root cause of many, many drug interactions, not all, but many. And so what we have here is basically a table, fairly simple table. And if you click on it, chosen drug, which is the active ingredient of this, which is the samiodarone, is up at the top, and it will tell you about these particular pathways. Is it an inhibitor? Is it a substrate? And then underneath that is all of the other drugs in the database that are also having a kind of interaction or relationship with that metabolism pathway. So you can kind of scroll down and look for potential drug interactions there. You might wonder, why, when you already have a drug interactions, would you look at this? This is perhaps a more theoretical kind of a more pharmacology-based information, and it's more around that kind of like theoretical research, whereas the drug interactions are coming out with evidence this has occurred and this is what happened to the patient, that type of thing. So slightly different kind of use case, and not a different audience, but as a pharmacist this is very interesting to me, but perhaps not everybody would be quite so interested in it. So I'm going to just flick over to dental. So you might have seen the little dental tooth sign in the tools and resources section. Dental is there because we found out that dentists or anyone working with oral health, the information that they need is slightly different to other healthcare professionals, and there's not an awful lot available, or it can be quite buried within the product information that we provide. So this is kind of a starting point, really. This was released last year, I believe. And it's quite simple, but it's really, if there is information which our team view, and they do have a dentist that reviews this as well, which our team views kind of pertinent to someone dealing with oral health, then there will be a monograph here or a link here. So you'll see it's black. If there's nothing, you can see, like for this example, because it's an injection, there's nothing in the crush, so that's grayed out. So if there's something available, there'll be a dental monograph, and it's just a sort of quite simple bit of text, just saying why what you might want to be aware of if you are dealing with the sort of dental care of a patient who is taking this drug. And you can see there's other ways to search through here as well, if you wanted to, or you can come at it through the monograph like we did this way. Also up here, it's a separate kind of module. There's another little picture of a IV bag, and this is the IV compatibility. I'm going to move away from the dental just so it doesn't distract us from the IV. So if you see this picture, it's only there if there's information available, and you click on that, you're going to come to the IV compatibility information. Now this is not new information. It's actually comes from within the full PI that we're already providing. It's just that because, like we sort of looked at earlier, that full PI can be quite long. and this information can be quite spread around. It's not always just in one place. So we've pulled it out and put it in one place for a bit more of a quick reference point. So the IV compatibility here, it just shows what information there is and also where it's come from. So we do specify whereabouts in that PI it has come from, and you can always link through to the full PI from here as well. So this example, you can see there's a little bit of information around the incompatibility, not really, it's more of a sort of a link through about the incompatibilities, and a little bit of information around the method of administration, etc. If I went to this from the actual tools and resources page, I'd come to a page like this. So I could look at perhaps another example, the undone cetron. So this example here, there's a bit more information, a bit more specific about the compatibility of different drugs. And again, this does come from the full PI. So if you then wanted to go and review that sort of in context in full, you can click on that and it will take you right through to the full PI. The only remaining one, I won't linger on too long because I think they're pretty self-explanatory, is sort of tools and calculators. So these come through here if you wanted to check them, things like creatinine clearance. I would suggest for these ones, kind of play around, have a look, see what's there, see what might be useful depending on your field of practice. And then if I come to the tools and resources page, when I click it on the top, you'll also see some resources down here. I'll click on the contraceptives one. This one is just a simple table. It used to be in our book and it was something that people found useful. So we've actually just put it on here as well. And it's really just a very quick reference on oral contraceptives. So which estrogen, which progestogen, and the strengths, and it can kind of help people to find equivalents really quickly. The other things on there you'll see is some resources around the PBS. So this is all information which is also available on the PBS website. We've just brought it in here so that people don't have to move out to a different website if they don't want to. So it's kind of information around the brand substitution. So this text here comes directly from the PBS, and if you were to click on this, it will actually give you the specific drugs that we have in MIMS, which are marked as being interchangeable for the PBS. So last but not least, I'll just move your eyes to the user guide. So we do have a user guide here. I hope that eMIMSelite is quite intuitive and straightforward to use, and you won't need to refer to it too often, but it is there available as a resource if you wanted to have a bit more of a deep dive, or if you wanted to pass on to someone else to give them the opportunity to have a bit of a play around. We also have a feedback form down here on the bottom. So if there's anything that you want to let the team know about, whether it be specifically related to the information within the monographs or around the usability of the website itself, we're always happy to hear feedback and we'll always respond to it. You can see the data version here, and I did click on this when I was showing you the bookmark, but also just to show you, this has my name on it because I have a name and a password. It depends on how you're accessing it as to whether it will have your name on it, but it's got your recent searches and any bookmarks you have there as well. So I think that's all I was going to look at showing you for today.